Good evening and thank you for joining us. A new survey shows Thunder Bay residents feel less safe and less satisfied with their overall quality of life than in years past.
The city released the findings of its latest citizen satisfaction survey at last night's council meeting. 82% of residents rated their quality of life as good or very good, but that's the lowest mark since the biannual survey began tracking the figures back in 2009. And as Ryan Bonazzo explains, that may be because fewer residents than ever view Thunder Bay as a safe city.
Having 82% of citizens hold a favorable view of life in Thunder Bay isn't a bad thing.
Overall, your numbers are good. They're not horrible, like in any sense of the word.
But the fact that the overall citizen satisfaction dipped to its lowest point since Ipsos began tracking the numbers back in 2009 and has been in steady decline since 2013 shows there's room for improvement. The figures presented by the company's Director of Public Affairs, Diana McDonald, on Monday also show that 44% of the 500 people randomly surveyed last month feel crime is the most important issue facing Thunder Bay. 2 years ago, just 16% of citizens felt that way. And fewer people than ever before, just 54%, view Thunder Bay as a relatively safe city.
The top of mind issue is what's in the news.
And while the negative attention has likely driven those statistics, the number of people who've actually been a victim of crime or know someone who has remains relatively stable, though those numbers do jump within the subgroup of 13% who say they've also experienced racism over the last year. McDonald notes the perception of crime can actually be tougher to erase than crime itself.
When it's actually happening, you can try to see what you can do for the groups where it's actually happening. But when it's not happening to you personally and you still feel unsafe, it's very hard to get rid of those perceptions.
One tangible step that the city can take to improve citizen satisfaction is to fix the roads. Street maintenance is by far the lowest rated city service, with just 25% of respondents indicating that they're satisfied.
If you focused on that area, you would probably see an improvement in overall satisfaction.
Ryan Bonazzo, TBT News.
That was just one of a number of items on a busy council agenda. A group trying to bring the 2021 Scotties Tournament of Hearts Women's Curling Championship back to the city also piqued council's interest, as they did a proposed music festival tied to a local cultural awareness initiative. Here's Jonathan Wilson with more from last night's meeting at City Hall.
Fresh off November's Pinty's Grand Slam of Curling event, a group representing the 3 area curling clubs is now trying to bring the Scotties Tournament of Hearts to Fort William Gardens in 2021.
The Tournament of Hearts is one of Canada's best and well-known sporting events.
The group has submitted a letter of intent to Curling Canada to bid on the event and will now ask the CEDC for up to $400,000 of hotel tax money to cover the hosting fee. Tourism officials say the Scotties would bring $6 to $12 million of economic impact. The group wants a formal letter of support from council, and while that decision couldn't be made on the spot, it's expected to be rubber stamped in the coming weeks.
Frankly, I think this is one of the closest things to a no-brainer that there is. I mean, Thunder Bay is a sports town.
Those behind the local Wake the Giant cultural awareness program plan to grow the initiative with a new music festival in September. The group is asking for an in-kind equipment donation equivalent to $90,000 over 3 years.
Things like the big stage, the small stage, lighting and sound, the other things that we would otherwise be renting from the city.
Many on council expressed verbal support.
I just want to say how thankful and appreciative and important I think this is.
Although Councillor Brian Hamilton worries approval will set a dangerous precedent.
I don't want to have organizations come back to us and be like, well, we asked and we're struggling.
The matter has been referred to administration for a report to be brought back to council by June 3rd. City staff also brought forward the results of last month's traffic study on Victoria Avenue. It found not only that a roundabout isn't necessary at Ford Street, but the existing traffic lights at Lily Street will also be removed.
When will you be removing the traffic lights then? Will that could happen tomorrow?
That would happen through the summer, probably later in the year here. There is a process in the Ontario Traffic Manual to remove signals. Then we have to follow that process in the OTM to remove the signals permanently.
Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
First of several pre-construction open houses for the east-west tie transmission line took place in the city last night. The line, which will stretch from Wawa to Thunder Bay, is being built by NextBridge. The company wants the public to learn more about the project and how it could impact areas along its route. Corey Nordstrom has more.
NextBridge, the company in charge of construction of the east-west tie transmission line, held the first of many open houses to communities affected by the project. The Current River Community Center was busy with people looking for expert information on the $777 million project. Jennifer Tidmarsh, the project director with NextBridge, says after 6 years, being so close to construction has created a lot of buzz.
So I've been talking to a lot of people that I've known for years being on this project, and everyone's like, finally it's here, that's great. A lot of people are talking about how it's opening up the area, right? There's a lot of activity going on with mining. Lots of mines are now saying they want to be in the area, and forestry operations, and a lot of people are really excited to see what's coming and what this line will bring.
The 450-kilometer project will see a 230-kilovolt transmission line from the transformer station in Wawa to Thunder Bay, with a connection midway in the town of Marathon. Construction will begin in June or July on the first stage, which is tree clearing. Tidmarsh says they plan to be energizing the line in October of 2021.
So probably by the beginning of next year we'll have clearing done, and then we'll start in with foundations, and then towers, and then doing stringing after that.
John Mason of Thunder Bay's Community Economic Development Commission was in-house. He says in addition to the trickle-down job creation, the work itself will be vast.
Never mind the municipalities on the North Shore, Thunder Bay itself, camps, lay-down yards, the massive amount of construction. And these camps are going to be 250 people and more in each of the camps, so that's going to be huge.
The construction will be done in segments, beginning in Thunder Bay and moving east. Employment for the project will be done by Vallard Construction and Supercom Industries. Training to prepare for the project has already been in the works, but these open house sessions allow others to get their foot in the door to a possible job close to home.
We did do an employment and training strategy where we did train a couple hundred people, but also there's a lot of people right now within the area that already have the skills that they need to walk right onto this job. So I mean, it's great to see good attendance here. I hope the attendance is great all along, right down to Wawa, so it's exciting times.
NextBridge will host more open houses in a number of North Shore communities this week. For further information, visit the NextBridge website. Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
In an announcement that has been expected for some time, Norwant Resources officially revealed today that Sault Ste. Marie has been selected as the site of their new ferrochrome processing facility. The Sault was selected over several northern centers, including Thunder Bay, for the plant that will eventually smelt ore from the Ring of Fire. The decision is expected to bring hundreds of jobs to the city. Juris Patterson reports.
This is a game changer for our community.
City officials have been patiently waiting for the last 14 months to see if Sault Ste. Marie was going to be selected for the smelter that will be part of the Ring of Fire development.
I'm pleased to announce that Norwant Resources has selected Sault Ste. Marie to be the site of its ferrochrome production facility.
That announcement came as music to the ears of local politicians and community leaders.
These are investments our community, private investments our community has never seen, to the tune of $1 billion by the time this thing is constructed.
The smelter will be built on Algoma Steel's property. Norwant says it would be more costly to build it in the Sault compared to Timmins. But the company says the proximity to shipping as a way to move the product to U.S. markets tipped the scales in the Sault's favor. However, Coutts says things could have been different if the local steel plant was still in creditor protection.
It would have been a difficult decision then because of the uncertainty around the Algoma plant, the CCAA process. We needed to know who we were getting into business with. We needed to know who our industrial partners were.
The goal is to have shovels in the ground by 2025 and construction completed by 2028.
We need to diversify the economy, and this is a surefire way.
It brings economic stability to our community. It helps with diversification in our community. There will be 1,500 to 2,000 jobs in the production of the facility, and on an ongoing basis after that, depending on the production of the ferrochrome, 300 to 500 really good paying, high quality jobs.
Tuesday's announcement is just the first step to building the smelter. There will be environmental assessments, and Norwant is still working with the province and First Nations to get all the roads built into the Ring of Fire area. Coutts says he anticipates an announcement on that from the province within the next couple of weeks. Jairus Patterson, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
The Ontario Professional Foresters Association is meeting in Thunder Bay this week. The 120 conference delegates started things off at a local tree farm today. And the Ford government's decision to cancel the $50 million tree planting program was just one of the issues being talked about. Alana Pickrell has that story.
Foresters from all over Ontario got back to their roots during the annual Ontario Professional Foresters Association conference. Instead of sitting around a boardroom, the participants took to the woods to kickstart the three-day conference. Forest productivity science specialist Chris Stratton says there's no better way to learn than getting out of the office.
It's more we've got our guides that kind of spark the discussion, and then it's more about having the bush chat or the stump chat, we used to call it, where people then have a dialogue around the profession in the field, and what better place than to do it in the woods.
The unusual conference setting sparked a lot of conversation in the woods, including spacing and how to manage different forests around the province. The group also talked about how to get foresters and the public on the same page so everyone understands what needs to be done.
Harvesting is an important part of regrowing a forest. As a forest becomes old and decadent, it should be cut down and then we replant. But it's hard for someone who is not familiar with the northern forest to accept that. And we've been trying hard through all of our organizations to convince people in the cities that forestry is a good thing.
Swant adds that people who live in big cities don't understand that sometimes cutting down and replanting is the best option. The recent Ford government cuts to the tree planting program also sparked conversation.
I think it's too bad that the tree planting service has been cut. I really hope that some other program can take its place. I think at this time we need to encourage planting more trees. That's a really good way to combat climate change.
After spending the day outside in the forest, participants will head back inside for the rest of the conference. They will cover topics such as species at risk, certification and legislation, and foresters and mining. Alana Pickrell, TBT News.
Residents on the north side of Thunder Bay may have noticed a dark plume of smoke in the Dawson Road area this morning. At around 10 o'clock, this front-end loader caught fire at a business on Hazelwood Drive. Fire rescue crews extinguished the blaze in a few minutes and then provided first aid to an employee who had attempted to put it out. The employee was brought by ambulance to hospital for treatment of smoke inhalation. The fire is believed to have been caused by mechanical or electrical problems in the loader's engine.
A group of students at Hammersholt High School are getting ready for a potential career fighting forest fires. The M&R held mock testing this afternoon, showing the kids the physical requirements needed for a position on a fire crew. Students in a grade 9 outdoor education class, as well as a few grade 12 students in a peer leadership program, took part. The students have been working and training with the M&R all semester. Today's activity was to complete the Wildland Firefighters Fitness Test. Kevin King Jr. from Gull Bay is one of the older students. He says his interest in the M&R came from his appreciation of the land.
You learn a lot about the bush, you live by the bush, you respect it, and being an Aboriginal, you just respect it. And M&R is like the best choice for me anyways, because I think it's really cool to be protecting it.
The younger we can get them into the program, the more experience they'll have to climb the ranks. So we're always looking for senior crew members, crew leaders, and then there's tons of other jobs in response as well. So being a technician, where you're actually working in helicopters, you're manning multiple fires.
King and his grade 12 classmates hope the completion of this test and program will lead to a future with the M&R. For the younger students, the class is an experience and a foot in the door for when they turn 18.
Cambrian players are debuting their latest production tomorrow night, and it might prompt audience members to call their mothers after the show. Titled The Mama Logs, it features snippets of the everyday lives of a matriarch.
Whining, talking.
The play features 4 lead characters, all of them mothers, and fitting with the title, the story is told mainly in monologues. There are also scenes with interaction between the characters where they find common ground on many topics. Throughout the hour-and-a-half production, the characters mix in humor to their true-to-life recounts and also touch on heavier subjects that may pull on the heartstrings of those in attendance.
Themselves are going to have a lot of fun with
their portrayals and their stories, and there's something for everyone to relate to in this play. Whether you've been a mom yourself or not, gone through the experience yourself or not, there is something to relate to.
We talk little bit about infertility. We talk a little bit about miscarriages, and we talk about the difficulties of pregnancy itself and the fun. And we talk about, again, having young children and what people never told you.
The show runs nightly from tomorrow until Saturday, plus a Mother's Day matinee and 4 more shows next week. Tickets are available at several locations or at the door at the Cambrian Players Theatre on Spring Street.
Well, Fiona, we might be on the right track.